Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 21 of Thessia, our Australia-inspired build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And how much fun was last episode, right? Really enjoyed this transport hub in particular, even though the episode itself was actually about Greenbelt. But lots of fun designs, really came out tremendously well, didn't it? And very Adelaide-inspired, which is always fun. In today's episode, the Adelaide fun continues. So this time we're going to be working with a pretty unique build. We're going to do a stadium here, and then also develop our transport hub front properly so we can see some, but what I'm sure will be some of the finest walking porn that we've ever seen on the channel. Ignore the trams, we're going to do a proper tram turnaround point, of course. But either way, very fun build today. Stadium, commercial, parking and a transport hub all to have fun with. Let's continue to design Adelaide, shall we? So we're going to start today's episode by introducing an asset by the beautiful Bad Peanut, of course, who we all know for his outstanding stadium work, right? So we have the AFL stadium. I believe this is from Perth, is it? I'll put it up on screen where it's actually from. But big Aussie rules football stadium, right? Super nice asset. It's got all this wood around it. And yeah, Bad Peanut just absolutely nails it every time, don't they? Just really great assets. Look how impressive this looks driving up alongside it with that wood paneling. How gorgeous is that? Just so good. So we're going to have this here, right? And this is going to sit as a wonderful feature asset in the foreground of downtown Adelaide, isn't it? Especially as we look at it from the Thessia Bay Bridge over here too. Cool. So, but we're going to have some fun with this, alright? So we're playing with a pretty precarious space today, but we should be able to have some fun with it. So, I'm going to drag my asset up into the corner here, and we'll go for something about there, I think. I just want to make sure it's set to the same height as the road. So we can't hook roads into these pathways, of course, but what we can do is actually use pedestrian pathways underneath them using Anarchy to get them to look right. So that's what we'll do. So let's come into our pedestrian stuff and we will grab, probably sandstone is going to be the most appropriate for this, I think. So we'll filter for sandstone. I want to go for quite a girthy number, so we'll go for the large one. And let's draw this out of here for right now. We'll bring it straight up there. That should be good. We'll worry about changing our trees in a second. And then we'll come around some small sandstone pedestrian streets. And then what I really want to do is probably come off all our snapping here besides the angle over the pathways. And then once we get them all configured, I'll probably push them a little bit further down actually, so they actually fall under the pedestrian pathway that surrounds the stadium. But of course it's only walkable, we can bend segments in so it's all fitted. So now we have that pedestrian pathway underneath the actual walkway of the stadium, which of course is going to make it functional, which would be really cool, right? You alright, mate? What's going on there? You okay? Where are you going, Charles? He is a partner at New Battery Technologies, and he is apparently at home. Charles is ascended to a different realm of reality, it would seem. He's having fun though. So we'll have this function as such, right? It's going to run all the way through here now as well. We'll bring it right up to the corner, and then what we will do is actually connect it into the road here too to create a crossing so people can actually move around the stadium, which will be a lot of fun. We'll bring this up as well just to adjust our nodes, and of course during our detailing time-lapse in, and we'll set all the nodes to the same height. So we'll pick a node of this small one, and then just set them all to the same height as this one over here. Cool, so eventually it's going to look like that. Of course we're going to hook it in a couple of different other places as well. Another place I do want to hook it into is actually going to be up by this way. So what I do want to do here is actually grab Network Multi-Tool, because I want to make use of the parallel mode. So let's go from here down to... So we're going to have this pedestrian road hug the actual main road as it comes out of the transport hub, which will give us some nice sort of parallel action over here as well. Then we'll align our pedestrian road where we want it. And then again I want to do a very tight node crossing here. You definitely won't want to do a crossing like this with actual roads, because the nodes would just be horrendous and the cars wouldn't navigate them properly. But over here with pedestrian pathways we don't have to worry about that at all. And this is just still the trams distributing across the line. Don't worry about this traffic, it will eventually pass. They're just still trying to stagger out. So once we've got our pedestrian road arranged as such, I'd like to have it veer off on an elevation. And then I want to do something similar over here. Let's bring out a node that's like that direction, I think. 5 units. We'll square this off and have some node controller fun here once we're ready. But then just want to use the create a curve function with multi-tool to say from here to here to create a really nice, cute, embanked road that's going to flow down, and then probably doesn't need a slope, but we'll do it anyway just to make sure we're happy. Just come down from here to here. Then just set the same heights here, because I think I do want another pedestrian bridge that's going to come up from this way. So perhaps it's better to probably slope from here down to here. Cool. So now we'll start seeing these really cool pedestrian walkways appearing, like this big elevated super one that's going to come around. We obviously need to sort this node out here. That's not particularly great there, is it? So we can just sort it out so it's not got a horrific bump in it. There we go. But what that will give us is these very cool elevated pedestrian walkways that are going to sweep around and link up to top layers. And of course, once all the transit is developed here properly and the trams are properly staggered out onto their lines, it's going to be quite a lot of fun indeed, I think. Something to look forward to. There we go, you can already see people actually using that pedestrian pathway to get down to the next layer, which is so satisfying, isn't it? Of course, there's going to be a lot of jank here today. We're playing with nasty terrain and difficult terraforming, but it will certainly get there, right? Well, I hope it's going to be a pretty healthy addition into Eggalade's Skyline, isn't it? Of course, lots of detail to be had. Concrete space. Probably do some ponds around here as well. A little bit of water feature maybe. It'll be quite a lot of fun. So we could also bring in another connection from here as well and actually feed it under the bridge. Let's turn off our node snap in here too, so we just come straight underneath. Now we could hook it into there, but I think whatever we do, regardless of network multi-tool, this gradient is just going to be too severe, I think, for a pedestrian pathway. But we can try it at least. I think it's actually probably better remaining as an elevation, isn't it, for its duration. So let's come into our upgrade tools, and we'll force this into a bridge as well. I don't hate that one there, actually. That's actually not worked out too badly. I thought that might have been too steep, but I can certainly get on board with that. And that's going to give us some crisscrossing pedestrian pathways too, which will be a very unique aesthetic for the stadium area, won't it? That's going to be a lot of fun. So look at this already, everyone. Oh, nice. Been looking forward to this for a long time. The hordes of ants walking up to Eggalade's Skyline. Just fantastic already, isn't it? I think there's already like 1,000 people still sat at this stop as well. There's a lot of them here. Let's have a look at this bus line. See if it needs any more vehicles on it. Yeah, so it's not too bad at the minute, is it? It's mostly coping for the time being. But either way, now we've got our stadium at least configured, we'll fill out the rest of it in our detail and time-lapse with trees and plazas. Like I said, I want to get a few water features around this as well using the extra landscaping tools. Oh, look how satisfying that is. There's going to be a lot of fawning over the walking today. Got downtown Thessia coming alive, everyone. Isn't it just tremendous to see? Very exciting. But it will continue to grow and develop, of course, as we move around today's episode. So, want to have a little talk about what's happening with the metro station. So when we configured this, I didn't think we could get the stop here on the metro line. But it turns out that you geniuses in the comments actually suggested that we can use Find It to pull out the metro track elevated stop, which we can use to actually have a metro line stop here. So we're going to upgrade the section in the platform to elevated metro stop. And then when we grab our metro line, which is this one here, we can actually now tell it to stop on these elevated sections of track. And you'll notice as it now comes in, look at that as well. Wow. Thessia's train's incredibly busy. But yes, big shout out to you guys for shouting this out. You can apparently also use Ron, the network replacer, to do this as well. But you'll now notice that our metro stops at the train station because it's actually the elevated track. And people will come and use this. I've tested this before now already. Although this metro line isn't super important yet because it doesn't really go anywhere. It's kind of future-proofing. But we will see them stop. And eventually we will also see people get off here and they will come and wait for these stops, which is very exciting. So thank you for that idea. Incredibly exciting to see metro stopping in a train station, isn't it? You okay here? We're getting a few trains backing up. Yeah, there's a few backing up on the line here. You guys should be okay though. Does feel like things are still staggering out with Thessia's transit network. Yeah, these are all internal train lines. There we go. Slowly picking people up. Very nice to see. So let's turn our attention towards the front of the transport hub. So what I want to happen here is to, I think, move the tram depot. I definitely want the tram depot factored into the transport hub itself. I want it to be sat alongside this highway. But we are going to grab a little tram road just to hold this. Force ourselves down to ground. So we'll place our tram depot about here. Set it to the same height as the train station as well. And then we'll just grab a simple little tram road. This one should probably do. And then we'll just hook that into this junction here, should be okay. And he will want an actual road as well. Cool, something like that should do. And then at least we've got... Did that despawn all my trams? Oh, it did, didn't it? That's a nightmare. They're all going to have to come out again, which is fine. It's fine. So the tram and bus roads no longer need to extend up toward the front of the station, so we can change this road now. We do still have cycling here, so it'd be good to maintain the cycling if we could. I guess a nice little centralised tree design might go nicely here, and we'll pick out a nicer tree to go on it. And I guess lots of shade here, actually with the hardwoods might be quite cool on the road. I think I could enjoy that, not too bad. And what we will do down here, I think, is actually extend this down once we know where our tram and bus interchange is going to configure itself. So I'd like to configure a tram and bus interchange if at all possible. So let's just delete what we have here right now. And let's have a look at some of our tram and bus roads. So currently we've only got one bus line served here, but there probably will be more in the future. So I think what I would like to do is bring bus only road out like this, and then we'll run it parallel for 8 units, I guess. That should be okay, give us plenty of room for detailing. And then with our tram roads, we're going to use the tram only stuff, so we'll come into the tram tab for that and we'll grab this tram track here. So we came up for 7 units here, let's come out by 5 at this point, and then I think we're going to split the tram off into a little one-way loop where it will almost kind of mimic the shape of the bus turnaround point here. So let's go ahead and fully establish that frame, bring it up there for right now. So yeah, so we'll have our bus come under the highway here, and then bring it straight down into this one, and then we can use this central plaza here as an excuse to form our tram turnaround point. And then remembering that we also want this sandstone road to meander into this little bus plaza as well. Probably there is going to be the most sensible choice, isn't it? So that links back into the stadium with all this walkability that's going on. And then now with this tram system, we can hopefully just create a nice simple little mimic loop with appropriate tram curves. I'll try to do anyway. 2 units here. And then from here to here we're at 4 units. That should be the same this side. Yes it is. And then 4 units back in this side as well, and that should complete our tram loop there. So I think what we might actually end up doing is upgrading this into 2-way, because we're going to have 2 tram lines here, aren't we? So that's probably for the better. So we'll have the red line stop in here, and then we'll also grab our white line and have it stop on the opposite side. And then we'll have the white line stop here on the inside. So let's just let that flow and see how it performs. Yeah, so everyone's going to come and chill out here. That'll be a lot of fun. Let's grab those bus lines as well. So you can now come into here. Wonderful. And then we've got plenty of room here now to start new bus lines from, around our little transport configuration over this way. Are you alright? Yes you are, you just need to give yourself a second, don't you? So there's a ton of detailing we can do here, right? We can get loads of planters and little tree belts around here, but we're going to make a nice big concrete plaza, a couple of fountains maybe. Lots of fun to have around here. Let's also re-square our major node here. Bring that green node back in a little bit so it has a bit more room, without any tearing hopefully. Lots of INT fun to have here too. Although that tram node, or that tram stop should not be there. Please stop, there we go. So now we can all just enjoy this absolute insane walking porn for a hot second here, right, as people pour out of the station. Got metro stopping there now as well. Trains coming in, buses and trams all meeting in a very small space. It is a lot of fun. So while that continues to just be insanely walkable, we will continue our tree-lined road up until this point. Find just a happy pedestrian pathway. We've gone with sandstone here, haven't we? So let's just continue to go with that one. Make sure that this is all happy and aligned. And then we'll grab just a regular bit of road here, and I want to include a bit of public transport admin. I think a taxi depot would be welcome at this point in the build. Almost a bit of sort of industrial service area, if you like, over this way. Make sure our nodes are set to the same height as well. And hopefully get some taxis knocking about in Thessia, and I think certainly a bit of repeated taxi stand action out the front of the station would be welcome, wouldn't it? So let's have a look at our bus lines here. Let's see what's going on. So we've got one going through the middle currently. Yeah, so currently the black bus line that goes through the middle of town isn't coming into the transport hub, so let's remedy that. Let's grab a new line here as it comes in, and then I'll ask you to stop. And then that's going to come back out, and then it's going to go back up to its line and carry on serving the rest of the city. We've got 2 buses, 2 trams, and 2 train lines all in the transport hub at the minute. But the white bus continues to dominate, doesn't it? People cannot get enough of that one. Super, super busy. But as a little modded transport plaza configuration, that is super cute. I'm very happy with that indeed. Lots of IMT to be had here today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to mark up, isn't it? Quite a challenging one, that as well. It's going to take a hot second for my brain to process all those markings, but we will get there eventually, I think. Wouldn't be adverse to a unique building here, you know? If we were to have a look at our plaza filter. Yeah, something like the elevated plaza, actually. If we used to delete this taxi stand, that could be if it fits, it sits moment. We have the little elevated plaza here on the corner. Really going to decorate the street corner there, isn't it, with all those planters? And of course the props inside it will also become active because it's a building. And that's perfect, yeah, that can stay there, I think, can't it? Because while black buses are coming in now, they'll hopefully start siphoning off a little bit of pressure off of this one over here. I think what I might actually do is, because these white and black lines are mirrors of each other, I'll actually have the stops next to each other, and then we can start 2 new lines over here if need be. Which we will need be eventually. We will have more bus lines leaving here, but no, they don't really exist at the minute as somewhere to go, do they? We're getting worker demands in Valkyrie. Yes, we are. Because we're having a death wave at the same time, I guess. Yeah, we do have some pretty high residential demand, I'm guessing, because a bunch of people have just died in Valkyrie. Okay. We could do some more residences at some point. Might knock some around the transport hub area today. We'll wait and see. But either way, I'm just going to leave the game running for a little bit now, let all the lines and buses and trams stagger out so they're properly spaced and people are coming and going as they should be. There we go, we've got people waiting for that metro now as well, thank God. Finally, good to see people utilising this, although they are stood on the tracks. You guys could do with moving over a little bit if that's alright. That would be helpful. Yeah, there we go. So we got, what, 87 people on this one now? Very nice. Starting to get used, isn't it? Very exciting indeed. But look at that, just look at it. This is crazy, isn't it? This is going to be the happiest I've ever been playing Cities Skylines, I think, with this build. Look how our stadium is looking here as well from the interchange. How fancy is that? It's so cool. Absolutely love downtown Thessia, everyone. I'm so glad to see you all enjoying it as much as I am as well. It's an absolute pleasure to build. So much fun. Look at all the tourists as well. But yes, either way, we will let this run now. Just let the vehicle stagger and the simulation chill for a little bit, and then we will be right back. Let me tell you guys, it is a real challenge to go and record the rest of this episode. Cannot take my eyes off of this. This is probably the most walkable we've ever had, isn't it? I don't think there's any other build across Bogusia, Palaven, Novaria, Nubioke, Ilos, and Orchid Bay that is more walkable than this. This is insane. This is just amazing. Right, I've got some elevated walking pathways here as well during the daytime time lapse. What I do actually want to do while we're here is just bring in some pathways between the tram and the bus on both sides, because we haven't actually done that yet. See if those get much use. They absolutely should do, people crossing back and forth here. But this white bus line definitely needs, I think, a couple more buses on it. It's just relentlessly busy. I'm not sure why, because the black is also mirrored it, so the black should just be as busy. But it's not for some reason. Don't know why. I guess maybe the AI is still... because once it's chosen its path, it won't leave it, will it? So maybe once the simulation runs for a little bit longer, they might start splitting evenly across the black and white lines. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, see, right, it's not nearly as busy, is it? So while we are talking about transport, I'd also like to do a little bit of work with this layer over here. So we've currently got a bit of an elevation change between the couplet system that feeds into what will eventually be the Canberra inspired area, but of course we're not ready to get out there yet. So I just want to do a bit of terrain work here. So to push our brush strength up too. To push all this in, a little bit less than that. And then just really accentuate this terrain layer between the train line and the road network, which is going to look a little bit something like that. Then I want to come in and grab ourselves a key, and we'll go for simple city key. I imagine it's going to be quite tasteful. Then we'll throw this on a network multi-tool parallel mode again, and we want to go from here all the way probably up to that node underneath the bridge. And use our plus and minus keys just to line this up roughly where we want it. Probably about there, I imagine. And then that's going to really add in a new layer of height for the builds as you're sat sort of coming into the Egglade couplet system. Sorry, not Egglade, the Canberra couplet system. Looking up, that's that gorgeous skyline as well. How nice is that? Really, really like that. Absolutely super. But yeah, I think that's definitely what I want to do there. So we'll have this city key running parallel with the trains. And then where we do actually have this key meet the other one, we'll just do a simple little connection here. And then I want to actually upgrade this one into the ones with the fences on them, because that's actually going to serve as a bit of a safety, almost viewing barrier area, isn't it? For people, maybe some train spotters could chill out here and enjoy this little slight elevation on the quay to the transport hub. See trains coming and going at various different points. Quite exciting, isn't it? I imagine if you're into train spotting. Hope so. But that'll just give us another little layer here of the trains coming in. Needs to be sorted out a little bit here, doesn't it, with the terrain heights and whatnot, but something we can configure in our detail in time. That's what very much a fan of, having that essentially embanked and keyed rail line now flowing through the middle of the city, which again, once we've got all this area developed, is going to look exceedingly cool, I think, isn't it? It'll be quite a fun build, that one. People coming and going off the metro now as well. Yes, please. Wonderful to see. So I think what we will do here before we head towards a detailing time-lapse is drop in some more custom assets from our beautiful community. So I think we'll get a Coco's Outback by the station. So Thessia's finest can get a pint of VB before catching the train to Sentinel. And then the wonderful Beefcake has made us a design, which then Terry, the flag guy, turned into a billboard. So big shout out to Beefcake for designing the Thessia skyline with the bridge and the arch. So cool. Look at that for a design. And then of course Terry for turning it into an asset. So big shout out to you both. You're both legends. Now, I think we might have a couple of these around actually. Maybe have one sort of here on the way in. It's quite appropriate, isn't it? Sort of like a welcome to Thessia billboard. Really cool. Really like that. So thanks for all the custom assets again, guys. Just so cool to have these sorts of things in the city. But either way, this does feel like a fun place for a detailing time-lapse. You've got a lot of prop work to do in and around the hub, benches, planters, trees and fencing. Also sort out any green belt that's now encroaching upon new assets like over here. Around the stadium, I want to bring in some water features around this way, probably a bit of car parking up and against the park here as well. And probably up on this top layer too, just so people can park as they arrive at the stadium. Sort out any gradients, add some key retaining walls against this terrain to tidy up a little bit. Sort out any tree line pathways and little prop spaces that we want to develop. But a really fun combo build today of a stadium transport hub. Should be a lot of fun to detail and even more fun to look at once it's all active and always walking. Can't stop looking at it, everyone. Cannot stop looking at this. We definitely need to make a shot out of this, don't we? This has to be a shot, this whole area. Absolutely nuts. Look at them walking down there as well. Down that stadium pathway. It's so cool. Absolutely love it. But either way, let's get to detailing. And then we'll be right back. guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So around our stadium we have introduced many water features including fountains, and at night time some lights which we'll have a look at in a second. A bit of a safety barrier between the high-speed roads and the water so there's no one splashing in there, with some nice retaining wall rocks that we've used many times before, and I really like the way that this stadium sits here. Super cool, isn't it? Really happy with it. Come up some bit more multi-storey car parking and then bleed into a few bars that have been fused and finagled together, some from tourism, some of King Leonard's mall stuff, another Coco's Outback, which are opening up new branches every week now in Thessia, an incredibly successful pub chain, with some people known about in the back of course. Stairways up to those top levels with umbrellas. Some really nice fusions here actually with the King Leonard's mall stuff, quite nice. Bit of leisure in there too, just general pubs and eateries and boozers near the stadium for getting pissed purposes of course. Some stadium screens up and against the entrances of the stadium with some simple tree and bush patterns knocking around in here, and of course it's all connected where people can come in and actually use the functional pathway now around the bottom of the stadium, which turned out really nicely, didn't it? Introduced more water features under the elevated pedestrian pathways, which turned out really nicely. Super happy with all of this. It's all illuminated as well, which we'll check out in a second. And just a really great way of introducing layers of height into a build by cutting away a landmass and separating it up with a retaining wall key. Just a very unique area of the city, I think, this stadium. And of course, don't forget to get name suggestions as well down below for Thessia's AFL team. We will let you guys name it, of course. Then just more screens, and it comes up here with some more key walls that cut off and curve around the side of the stadium. We've done lots of IMT as we head down towards the transport hub, and we're going to do Adelaide's outdoor mall here. Was thinking of doing it today, but it would have made the episode way too long having the mall build in here too. So we'll do it another one. And then also wrap this side up as well with design, so we'll probably be an Egglade for one more episode, I imagine, because we've got the mall to do. Yeah, I definitely want to respect that design. And then as we come down into the transit hub, we've got lots of IMT on our main junction highlighting the bus and the cycle lanes as they crisscross each other, and different rule starts here to get stuff like this in. Really love that cracked paint as well. Makes such a huge difference, doesn't it? Really nice. So different bus lanes going around. You've got ice creams, stands and toilets and tables. A little bit of a bench and pathway design here through the middle, which is all pathwayed up, so actually getting some use, which is always fun. You know, one of my favourite things about modded cities is open, walkable, concrete space, because it's pretty much impossible to achieve in vanilla. Oh, I guess maybe a little bit more so to achieve now with the airport aprons, but they're still pretty big, so achieving smaller spaces like this isn't particularly ideal. Yeah, and then we just copy and pasted some classic stop detailing that we did over in Morant Square in the centre. Want to kind of keep Adelaide or Egglade branded up with the same stops and designs and whatnot, so use those over there. More benches, food trucks, etc., and more toilets over this way as well. With a little bit of overgrowth threatening to consume the Thessia sign here. A bit more of a retaining wall key against our tram depot over here, just hiding it up and against that highway. And then we also brought in a little pathway here, extended the fencing off the back of the taxi depot so it sits a little more organically against that metro line. And a really nice spot here in another Coco's Outback to do a bit of train spotting. That's a little bit of yes please, that, isn't it? I'm sure the train spotters will be over the moon with this one. Not too bad, is it? Nice views as well. And people waiting to use these stops on the metro line now, which is fantastic. Great to see this active. Big shout out to you guys again for that tip, using Find It to fix the problem. So indeed we can have people stopping and getting off the metro line here. Absolutely tremendous. Big fan of that. And it's just so walkable. Look at that. It's just great, isn't it? This is easily the best bit of the game. They can do detailing and incredible interchanges, but nothing brings a smile like walking porn, does it? And like I said earlier in the episode, this is possibly the most walkable build and walkable scenes that we've ever had playing this game. I think it's a very strong possibility. It's very cool. But really two distinct fun builds today. Transport hub and stadium build ticked off for Thessia, and two very walkable spots as well. But otherwise guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much indeed for watching. If you've enjoyed, likes, comments and shares below really do help my channel grow and bring more people to the series. equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, and feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Really enjoyed these builds today, especially the surrounds on the stadium. Super unique, and there's lots of water around the Optus Stadium in Perth, so I wanted to respect that here as well today. Really fun playing with pedestrian pathways and anarchy under the ring pathways of the stadium itself. And the transport hub is just so walkable. There's so many people using the public transport. And of course, they're all coming from different parts of Thessia as well, you know. They're all getting on those train lines that go to Valkyrie and Sentinel and Venezia. And one day we'll go further beyond that as well. We'll have more trains going out to other smaller towns that lie across Thessia. I think now as we approach Cities Skylines 2, Orchid Bay will probably wrap up in time for Cities 2 coming out. But I think with Thessia, there's still going to be demand for some modded Cities 1 content, I think. So we can expect Thessia to continue after the launch of Cities 2, I think. Because there's still so much more here that I want to do and ideas to take from Australia. And I don't just want to rush Thessia to get it done. I want to make sure it gets the proper respect and attention that it deserves. But otherwise, please do enjoy your cinematics, so I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.